welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, today, as always, we're on Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Our television stations are on Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T Channel 99 in southeastern Michigan. We're also online, civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link or join us at the top right of our homepage. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15 and facebook.com/LakesFM. On the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM and 88.1 WBFH, the Biff out of Bloomfield Hills. And we're always everywhere you go, on your mobile phone, on your smart TV, and on the web with My Michigan TV or My TV. Find more information on their website, mymitv.com, or search My Michigan Television on your smartphone app store or on your Roku TV, your Apple TV, your Fire TV, your Android TV, or wherever you get your smart TV content and apps as well. And then on our website, you can learn more about all of our partnering stations by going to civiccentertv.com/megacast. In addition to finding more information on these partnering public television stations, radio stations, as well as My Michigan TV, you can also find our interviews and full episodes from each and every day here on the Megacast. And so if you miss part of our show or there's only certain interviews that really pique your interest from our daily lineup, you can find those specifically right there on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. And then on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, it's all the information you need to know about COVID-19 and more in Oakland County, in the state of Michigan, and across the United States, from resources that are directly on the front lines of this pandemic, that are doing the research, that are keeping up with this information, that are experts in these fields, in the fields of public health, epidemiology, and so on and so forth, so that you're not digging through the weeds of the internet and having to navigate all the disinformation, all the misinformation that's out there, all the questionable resources. These are directly from the sources, from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, the Oakland County Health Division, and individual municipalities here in the Oakland County area that'll give you specific information for your hometown regarding COVID-19. In addition, we also have our top headlines each and every day on the program, and today, as a record Delta variant waves hit, it's raising fear as schools across the U.S. begin to open. This article from the Associated Press: the days before he was supposed to start fourth grade, Francisco Rosales was admitted to a Dallas hospital with COVID-19, struggling to breathe with dangerously low oxygen levels and an uncertain outcome. It wasn't supposed to be like this, though. His frightened mother, Jessica Gonzalez, Francisco was normally healthy and rambunctious. At 9, he was too young to get vaccinated, but most of the family had their shots. She had heard kids rarely got sick from the coronavirus. But with highly contagious Delta variant spreading across the United States, children are filling hospitals' intensive care beds instead of classrooms in record numbers, more even than at the height of the pandemic. Many are too young to get the vaccine, with requirements with these current vaccines making them only available to those 12 years of age and older in the case of the Pfizer and Moderna two-shot vaccines. The surging virus is spreading anxiety and causing turmoil and infighting among parents, administrators, and politicians across the United States, especially in places such as Florida and Texas, where Republican governors have barred schools from making youngsters wear masks. With millions of children returning to the classroom this month, experts say the stakes are unquestionably high. Very high infection rates in the community, quote, are really causing our children's hospitals to feel the squeeze, says Dr. Buddy Creech, a Vanderbilt University infectious disease specialist who's helping lead research on Moderna's vaccine for children under 12. Dr. Creech said those shots probably won't be available for several months. I'm worried. I'm really worried, said Sonia Rasmussen, a doctor and pediatrician and public health expert at the University of Florida. It's just so disappointing to see these numbers back up again. While pediatric COVID hospitalization rates are lower than those for adults, They have surged in recent weeks, reaching 0.41 per 100,000 children ages 0 to 17, compared with 0.31 per 100,000, the previous high set in mid-January, according to an August 13th report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Dr. Francis Collins, head of the National Institutes of Health, calls the spike in cases among children, quote, very worrisome, and closed quote. He noted that over 400 U.S. children have died of COVID-19 since the pandemic began, and right now we have about 2,000 kids in the hospital, many of them in the ICU, some of them under the age of 4, Collins told Fox News on Sunday. Health experts believe adults who have gotten their shots are contributing to the surge among grown-ups and children alike. Those who have not gotten their shots. It has been especially bad in places with lower vaccination rates, such as part of the South. As experts work to answer these questions about the surge, many hospitals are reeling. Those in Texas are among the hardest hit. On Tuesday, they reported 196 children being treated with confirmed COVID-19. That compares with 163 in the previous peak, which was back in December. At Texas Children's Hospital in Houston, many hospitals are the nation's largest pediatric hospital, the number of youngsters treated for COVID-19 is at an all-time high, said Dr. Jim Versalovich, interim pediatrician-in-chief. In recent weeks, the vast majority have had Delta infections, and most patients 12 and up have not had their shots, he said. He continued on saying, it is spreading like wildfire across our communities. Outbreaks have already occurred at reopened schools in the South that are facing resistance to mask wearing, and it's expected that we will see more cases of COVID-19 in those under the age of 12 as schools do reopen, which is why it's sparking so much debate even further than before on the issue of whether or not vaccines should be required for students that are within the age limits that are currently in place for the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, whether or not kids and staff and faculty should all be wearing masks in schools. Some school districts have mandated that mask wearing be done in all of their facilities regardless of vaccination status because of the situation, and others refuse to. And in some cases, in many states, and including right here in Michigan, there is a push to prevent vaccine requirements and mask requirements in schools and in businesses that are being discussed, particularly by members of the GOP, as they tend to be in opposition to mask mandates at the state level, at least. So this is going to continue to be a debate as more people on both sides of the aisle ponder whether or not mask requirements are the best way forward as we continue to get people vaccinated, continue to figure out what to do about the Delta variant and this ever-changing world we're living in due to COVID-19. And according to polls, this also from the Associated Press, COVID anxiety is up and vaccine requirements are being favored. Anxiety in the U.S. over COVID-19 is at its highest level since winter, a new poll shows. As the Delta variant rages, more states and school districts adopt mask and vaccination requirements, and the nation's hospitals are once again filling to capacity. The poll from the Associated Press's NORC Center for Public Affairs Research also finds that the majority of American adults want vaccine mandates for those attending movies, sports concerts, and other crowded events, those traveling by airplane, and workers in hospitals, restaurants, stores, and government offices. The poll shows that 41% are extremely or very worried about themselves or their family becoming infected with COVID-19. That is up from 21% in June and about the same in January, during the country's last major surge when 43% were extremely or very worried. In a quote from David Bowers, a 42-year-old business analyst in the Phoenix suburb of Peoria, quote, "I wouldn't have said this a couple of years ago, but I'm not as confident as I was in America's ability to take care of itself." Bowers, a Democrat, and his wife, a public school teacher, got vaccinated early, but they fret once again about their daughters, ages 7 and 9, attending school in a state whose Republican Governor Doug Ducey signed a law to block school districts from mandating masks, let alone vaccines. A brief summer respite from COVID-19 fatigue included a family trip to New York. Quote, COVID was pretty much out of mind, Bauer said. Now it feels like we're going backwards. Close to 6 in 10 Americans say they favor requiring people to be fully vaccinated against COVID in order to travel on an airplane or attend a crowded public event. Only about a quarter of Americans oppose such measures. Roughly 6 in 10 Americans also support vaccine mandates for hospitals and other healthcare workers, along with government employees, members of the military, and workers who interact with the public, such as restaurants and stores. Support is slightly lower for requiring vaccinations to those for those to go out to a bar or a restaurant, though more are in favor than opposed, 51% to 28%. Nearly 200 million people, or just over 60% of the U.S. population, has received at least one dose of a vaccine as of Thursday, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Just over half the population was fully vaccinated. You can find more information on that vaccination rate and where we are in the U.S. and the state of Michigan on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Click on the state of Michigan link, of course, for all that information and links that will take you to that data from the state of Michigan. And if you're looking for that data at the national level, at the federal level, our CDC resources will provide you with more. Some slightly positive news, maybe not positive news here in the local area. Detroit DTE Energy is scheduled to give $100 credits to eligible customers whose power is still off as of Monday. This from the Detroit News. DTE Energy will issue $100 credits to eligible customers whose power remained off on Monday morning of this week, 6 days after storms pummeled the region. In a quote from a DTE representative via email on Thursday, quote, "Our teams are working to apply the credits on accounts of all customers who qualify, and we will be notifying these customers over the next several days," and closed quote. DTE did not have an estimate of how many customers were eligible, but about 40,000 DTE customers remained without power on early Monday morning this week, according to the company's outage map. By Thursday afternoon, 1,700 were waiting to have their power restored. The $100 credit comes after Nestle on Monday publicly called on DTE and Consumers Energy to voluntarily credit customers who went without power and to provide additional support to those who lost food or had to seek alternative housing. The utility workers for Consumers Energy and DTE are working hard to restore power, and I appreciate those who have worked tirelessly the last several days on behalf of the communities they serve. But these companies also need to work hard to restore trust with their customers, the Attorney General said in a statement. The new credit, in addition to $25 DTE offered to customers with power outages for more than 120 consecutive hours. DTE customers eligible for the $100 will receive both credits for a total of $125. That's the kind of money that says, oops, sorry, hope your power is back on. Consumers also is offering a $25 credit to eligible customers that will surely ease all of their frustrations and provide nothing but forgiveness for Consumers Energy. The average power bill in Michigan came to about $103.59 in early 2020, according to iProperty Management, which uses data from the Energy Information Administration and ranks the state 36th in the country for electricity costs, or as most in the Metro Detroit area who had their power out for a significant amount of time after one storm after the other, they'd probably rank at 50th, but who's counting? In this case, these credits, I'm sure, will be welcome. I don't think most people would turn down free money, especially from companies that are consistently letting them down, like DTE and Consumers Energy. That being said, this is probably not going to boil over any of the frustrations that these customers have had, because if they're losing power, if they lost power during the most recent storm and their power was out for 6 days, 7 days plus, 120 hours and beyond for that $25 credit and $100 for those who still didn't have power on Monday of this week, that's really not going to be enough to sweeten the deal and really say, oops, we're sorry. More solutions need to be in place. And granted, that's not just DTE and Consumers Energy's problem. That's a general infrastructure problem as well, which there's certainly been plenty of outcry from the public at the state level and at the federal level in recent months because of that. Lastly, on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission continues to come under fire for politically, let's call it slipping on a banana peel. This from Bridge, Michigan. Members of Michigan's redistricting panel voted Thursday to drastically change the way they intend to draw the state's new legislative and congressional districts. The 13-member commission adopted a plan that requires members to start drawing districts by region, starting with the southeast and south central regions of the state. This is a departure from the mapping schedule that was adopted just last week, in which commissioners had agreed to first draw all 38 Senate districts before moving on to the state's 110 House districts and 13 congressional districts. Sue Hammer-Smith, the executive director of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, say that 15 times fast, that'll be fun, said changes should make it easier for commissioners to draw new districts and consider voting patterns of racial minorities in cities like Detroit and Flint. Edward Woods, the communications and outreach director for the commission, told reporters that, quote, maybe we just got ambitious, and closed quote, with the initial schedule. That'll build confidence. Changes come less than a week after the U.S. Census Bureau released decennial population data that will be used to draw the districts. The commission was created by voters in 2018 to wrest political redistricting away from politicians who produced what one court deemed some of the worst gerrymandering in the nation. But so far, the panel has encountered delays caused in part by delays in census data and failed in its bid to seek the blessings of the Michigan Supreme Court to complete the maps past the deadline. By law, the first draft of the commission's maps is supposed to be ready for public review by September 17th, a deadline the group acknowledges it will miss. Tony Daunt, the executive director of the conservative advocacy group Fair Maps Michigan, said the latest change in plans is, quote, a painful reminder of how unprepared this commission is to meet their constitutionally mandated deadline. Today's meeting, he said in a quote, today's meeting further damages their trust in that process and flies in the face of the promise of a clear and transparent process. Under the new plan adopted by the commission, the panel will use most of August to create new state legislative districts in southeast and south central parts of Michigan. All of the other regions, including Metro Detroit, as well as new congressional districts, will be drawn in September. The commission is racing against the clock. The constitutional deadline for the adoption of maps is November 1st, which it will also probably miss. The commission is aiming to consider drafts by September 30th before hosting a series of meetings throughout the state and voting on drafts on November 5th. The commission will then hold a 45-day public comment period. If the commission has to change anything from the proposed maps, it will hold another 45-day public comment period. That would make it unlikely the commission meets its self-imposed deadline of December 30th in adopting the maps. And you can read this full article for more details and all the chaos that's currently happening with the commission on Bridge, Michigan magazine by clicking on the article on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. And on one hand, this is the first run that the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission has had at taking this approach. There is going to be a learning curve involved. There are going to be bumps in the road. Those should be expected. And in their defense, they have been as upfront as they can be, maybe a little bit less than they can be, about those hiccups and about those changes. But of course, it's going to cause frustration because you want to have an equal process and a fair process, but you also want to have a quick process as we're heading into a year where elections are going to be very tough and are going to be very competitive. Certainly the gubernatorial race, where Governor Gretchen Whitmer will more than likely run for re-election and will have stiff competition from her opposition in the GOP. This is going to be a hot button issue, and the commission continuing to miss deadlines and have hiccups and not have their plans entirely straight is going to continue to cause frustration. So they need to figure out a plan. And at this point, it seems like they have a more efficient plan in place. We'll see how it happens. We'll see what happens with it because they've had changes in their plans before to be more efficient, to try to hit those deadlines, or if they're going to miss them, minimize the amount of time in which they do miss those deadlines. But the fact of the matter is, they continue to miss those deadlines. They continue to move the goal line down even further down the field, so to speak. And that's definitely a frustrating scenario for all Michiganders who are waiting to see what happens with our congressional districts at the state level as well as at the federal level, especially now that we've lost, because of the census data, one of our congressional seats at the federal level. You can read that article and more on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, as well as find direct links, and I mean these take you directly to the COVID-19 pages from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, from the state of Michigan, from Oakland County, and many municipalities here in the Oakland County area in southeastern Michigan. Don't dig through the internet. There is no need to do that to find all these resources that may or may not be reliable. Go to civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. We have links to those on the very front lines researching this information. We have links to information that affects your hometown specifically, and articles from reliable journalists doing amazing work in the Metro Detroit area, in the state of Michigan, and nationally. We'll take a quick break, and then on the other side, we got a great show ahead for you here, and a packed show. Indeed. At 10:20, I'll be speaking coming up with Adam Sterling, the Resident Life and Business Development Director at Henry Ford Village Senior Living in Dearborn. At 10:40, we'll speak with the CEO of Focus Hope, Portia Roberson will join us. And then at 11 o'clock, we'll speak with Ryan Haack. He's an author of Different is Awesome and the founder of LivingOnehanded.com. At the bottom of the 11 o'clock hour, we'll speak with Steve Schettenhelm and of the Rochester Police Department. He's their police chief. And then the market manager from the Oakland County Farmers Market, Jeremy Brown. That all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary. And if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in our studios here in West Bloomfield Township as we continue to talk about a number of different issues affecting our communities here in southeastern Michigan and all across the state, and certainly over the past year and a half. We've had a number of issues come about that have directly and severely, in many cases, affected our senior population, especially those that are living in senior living communities. And one local expert to talk about the current status of not only his community, but senior living in general in our local area is Adam Sterling. We're pleased to be joined by him. He is the Resident Life and Business Development Director at Henry Ford Village Senior Living in Dearborn. Adam, thanks for being with us today.
Tyler, thank you for having me. Great to be with you.
So tell us a little bit as we go into this today about what senior life is like at this facility at Henry Ford Village Senior Living in Dearborn.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to be here and to do so. Well, senior life is quite exciting, actually. And I'll share with you, Tyler, I've been here, I was just figuring it out, 24 years. I can remember when I started here, it was pretty much thought of as the grandson, and now or the nephew, and I think now I'm pretty much seen as a prime prospect for moving in. So it's been fun to watch the changes over the years. Our industry as a whole is really amazing. It has changed dramatically over that time that I've been involved in the industry. I think you probably have seen a lot of changes in your area, and your folks who watch your show here probably have seen quite a bit of differences in their community. A lot of developers and builders and bringing things to the properties. One of the things that we really like at Henry Ford Village, and I think that many places strive for, is to bring sort of robust programming and the opportunity for folks who move in, depending upon the type of senior community they move into, to thrive. At Henry Ford Village, we've always sort of had a philosophy of trying to attract those who are looking for a lifestyle option, trying to aspire to something prior to ever having a need, but also having the infrastructure to provide for that need if they ever really require any further healthcare or assistance as time goes on. But we really take great pride in having programming that's quite robust. Uniquely, a few years ago, only going back 2 years, just pre-COVID, we probably would be continuing with this award if not for COVID, but we've had to focus our energies elsewhere. We received the Pinnacle Award from New Step and the ICAA, which is a national or international council. It's the International Council on Active Aging. And it was an award for wellness programming at communities, competition across the country, and even a few in Canada as well. And one of the things they really liked about Henry Ford Village was that the residents were highly involved in deciding the direction of programming and actually implementing it. And I think that's something about senior living that I really like, and I have a lot of colleagues in the field. We all work at various places, and I think it's one of the things they admire here, and I think it's something that throughout our industry, everybody is trying to capture that. What we're realizing is we're coming into what now? The baby boomer generation moving into senior living. This is a generation that's always been very active. They're not ready to retire in what maybe a few years back we would have thought as the traditional retirement, which is perhaps kicking up your feet or perhaps waiting until there's a need that comes across that would precipitate your move into a retirement community, or moving in and just sort of not necessarily being as active as once you were once. Nowadays, people want to move in and they want to do more. Basically, senior living today is an opportunity to come to an environment where you don't have to worry about the responsibilities of caring for a house. It's pretty much, it starts with the idea of maintenance-free living. It's letting go of the responsibilities of taking care of a house, which whether that is actually the need that precipitates someone making a decision or they are just looking ahead. You know, Peter Drucker says, it wasn't raining when Noah built an ark. And it's kind of the same thing for a lot of our population of seniors. They basically are taking a look ahead sometimes and saying, you know, this house was fantastic for raising my family, but it's not necessarily the right thing for me today or in the near future. So coming into an environment where there is robust programming, at Henry Ford, we have about 125 clubs or activities, programs. We have 30 fitness programs that run weekly. Of our 125, about 75% of them are actually led by residents. And they are clubs and activities, programs that the residents themselves have identified as things they would like to see within the community occurring. One of the fun ones that came across a couple of years ago, but the participation continues to change, is a railroad club. And there's, as I said, there's 125 clubs, so I could talk about any of them. But there's a fantastic railroad group. You would never believe what we have here for a room. And to give you an idea, Tyler, of the change that occurred, when I started here, the room that they occupy now was a shuffleboard room. It was an inboard shuffleboard room. And back 25 years ago, the idea of a shuffleboard would have been an idea of a fantastic way to take advantage of a space within a retirement community. But today, you know, shuffleboard is fine and people do enjoy it, but to occupy a space 24 hours a day with shuffleboard is not something that most seniors are looking for anymore. They want something they can participate in a lot of the day. They want something that's going to draw their interest and provide an opportunity for their creativity throughout their experience here. and so far more engaging as a railroad club. And I have to tell you, the type of people it attracts are people from our STEM group, which is another club, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It's a group that really kind of comes from the scientific background. So within that club is a gentleman who worked on the shuttle program with NASA, and when that ended, he's a U of M grad. He and his wife both live here in the area. They took that opportunity to leave the hurricanes of Florida and return home. And they picked Henry Ford Village because they recognized the lifestyle that senior living can provide to folks. And one of the things that they picked up was creating this this train room, which fills the room of the shuffleboard room, which was just one of our biggest rooms. And it's a multi-tiered, 3-tiered train operation. It's got cameras, computers. It's absolutely amazing. I don't think anybody quite envisioned what these guys were going to do when they started on this, but we have a couple dozen guys who do that. We have a couple local people from the immediate community who also are train enthusiasts who participate in that, and they are creating this amazing program that continues to evolve every day. And there's many more like that.
We're joined by Adam Sterling. He's the Resident Life and Business Development Director at Henry Ford Village Senior Living in Dearborn. And Adam, these activities are all great, and this is a situation that's definitely much more adaptable to seniors than senior living facilities have been, certainly in the past. But we can't gloss over the challenges of the past year and a half that communities like senior living facilities, and more notably in the state of Michigan, it's been nursing homes that had a number of problems, and there are stark differences that between these two, certainly. But senior living facilities were also not, for lack of better terms, immune to those similar issues. In terms of your organization and your senior living facility there in Dearborn, what were some of the challenges that your team encountered over the past year? Certainly the activity and the socialization had to have been a challenge, but even beyond that, to continue to provide the level of service that senior living facilities, quality senior living facilities like yours, provide to its residents.
Thanks, that's insightful. It certainly was a challenge across the industry, and the industry is broad. The term senior living covers so many different variations of facilities that are out there and the types of lifestyle or care that's provided. There's assisted living, there's skilled care, which is in long-term care and short-term rehabilitation, independent living with enhanced services, independent living. And they all sometimes fall under that same broad moniker of senior living, so it can be quite interesting. I think though, as an industry, I have to tell you, I think overwhelmingly the industry did amazing. It pivoted very quickly, caught just as much off guard as the rest of the country in terms of having to respond to the needs and provide for the security and safety of our populations, our residents, our community. And continue to provide them with the services and provide them with the opportunity to continue to thrive over time. For us, one of the things that people enjoy is receiving dining experience meals, and that would be quite common throughout the industry as well. One of the primary things that we provide is that dining experience. And so folks want to continue to receive nutrition, which would have been very important, as well as socialization. So pivoting from providing basically about 1,000 meals a day, primarily in the dinner time hour, to providing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because we were very concerned at residents having exposure to even going out for or trying to find the resources and groceries to provide for their own breakfast or lunch. At our community, 1 meal a day is basically included, and so they primarily choose dinner. So we wanted to fill the gap everywhere, and so we would do meal delivery twice a day to their apartment homes, fresh meals every day, quickly providing more and more choice, because as time went on, as you can easily imagine, meals became a focal point of people's attention. It kind of reminded me very much of school and going to college. And I can remember spending time, I don't know if we called them dining halls at the time, but probably dining hall, and meals would become the center point of conversation. And they certainly were for residents. So trying to find ways to continue to delight them and surprise them and bring great meals to them. The other really unique thing about that was one of the things they enjoy here, and I think you can find this in some other places, is, and I think one of the things they enjoy when they have in-person dining, which they have now, is we actually employ over 100 students from the local schools as our servers. So that intergenerational contact, the friendships that they built, that familiarity and that mentorship is really critically important to them. And they had that opportunity to continue to see some of the kids, continue to be our deliverers, and of course with a safe distance, continue to have that relationship with the residents. The other challenge is communication and providing stimulating activities to folks when everybody is spread out and can no longer congregate. We have an internal television station, so one of the real wonderful features was we were able to continue programming through that. As time went on, we discovered this was a tremendous opportunity. We had captured audience, and we could actually bring to them entertainment and activities that we wouldn't normally. Like, they would only come to something if it was live and perhaps we had a bar or food. Well, now in their homes, sometimes we'd show a movie and we deliver popcorn and candy and things like that. Other times we tried some things out of the box. You know, we realized the world was our oyster at this point because people could just come to Zoom and watch the entertainment. And so we booked a comedian out of Vegas. We had shows from across the country and around the world. One of the things, even though we're doing in-person programming now, is, and we continue to adopt, is we're doing tours around the world. We have an active travel club. They go everywhere. But we've continued with the weekly tour. So one day we're in Spain, next day we're in Portugal, we're in Lisbon, we're in London, we're in Paris, we're in Czechoslovakia. We're in South America, and we have a live tour guide walk us through a 1-hour tour of an area. And it's a really cool thing. And I don't know if pre-COVID, anybody would have wanted to come and watch something through well, half the people didn't know how to use Zoom, but to use Zoom to watch something like that. So really kind of, as challenging it was, a neat thing sort of came from that.
We're joined by Adam Sterling, Resident Life and Business Development Director at Henry Ford Village Senior Living in Dearborn. And as socialization starts to come back and we start to have more of these interactions, certainly internally at the senior living facility and other senior living facilities, but also across those boundaries with employees that are coming in and out of the facility each day, and as residents are going back out and visiting family, visiting friends, going out on the town, and so on and so forth. What are the safety requirements in your facility? Are there requirements for vaccines? Are there requirements for mask mandates? A bit of both. What's the status at Henry Ford Village Senior Living?
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, and the residents themselves are over 97% vaccinated. And the program nationwide that went through the pharmacies to provide that was fantastic to work with and be coordinated here on site and throughout all senior communities. It was just great. The staff has done quite well, fairly significant vaccination levels. Anybody coming onto our property must go through a protocol. They answer half a dozen to dozen questions about their current status to make sure that they have no symptoms. They are screened with a digital thermometer to make sure there's no temperature. And when they're on campus, they're wearing a mask. So it's a pretty good protocol, pretty stringent, but it seems to be working quite well. We haven't had any incidents as of recent.
That's always good to hear, especially considering that our senior populations tend to be more vulnerable to severe cases of COVID-19. It's great to hear the 97% vaccination rate, which will help prevent some of those severe cases, and certainly that precautions are being taken. We're joined by Adam Sterling. He's the Resident Life and Business Development Director at Henry Ford Village Senior Living in Dearborn. And just a few more minutes with you. And one thing that really popped out when I was looking up the information about your facility is, and that's not to say that there isn't this kind of inclusion at other facilities, but it's not something necessarily that a lot of senior living facilities or really other living facilities are going outward and saying we are openly welcoming and seeking people from these communities. But your property promotes that they are LGBTQ friendly and they're very welcoming to various communities throughout our local area, especially considering the diversity here in Metro Detroit. How did word get out about that? How did that initiative come to be? And how does that further set your organization apart from others in your industry and across industries in the local area?
Yeah, thank you. It's something near and dear to my heart. I'm a member of the LGBT community. We know many of the residents who are LGBTQ here at Henry Ford Village, and there was, we began to understand the unique needs of seniors, and I think this is becoming across the country. More and more communities are understanding that we actually have the greatest generation of LGBTQ population living right now. Warriors, they did the battles and social, they've done it alone, they've done it together. It was not an easy time. And today I think many of the LGBT community enjoy incredible freedoms and opportunities because of all the work that this generation did. Sadly, amazingly, given their circumstances, one of their greatest fears in life is this age, and perhaps having to hide their identity for fear of being who they are. When their time of vulnerability comes, should they need care, should they join a community, that they can be who they are, that their loved ones can still be a part of their lives, that pictures can still be out, that they would be valued versus perhaps neglected or maybe even abused. So we identified a program, a national program through Sage Care, which does a cultural competency training program for all staff, including our leadership. Every level of our staff received training, and due to the participation level at which we were active, we received their certification. We're one of only 2 properties in the state of Michigan to have done so, and the only to receive the platinum, which basically says that we had an incredibly significant high level of participation. And it was something that from our board through every single staff member through our residents has been embraced. It has been something that has been so valued and appreciated. Our LGBT residents have the opportunity to be as open about their lives or as private as they want. But many of them are quite open, and they share their gifts, and they are truly respected, appreciated, and valued across the whole spectrum of the community. It is truly a great experience. The more you embrace diversity, it just creates an amazing sense of community, and you get so much from it. So many gifts and talents come to the fore. So it's been a great experience. I hope every community takes a look at that opportunity. It's just a tremendous value.
Yeah, you never learn more about the world and learn more about yourself than you do from people that are completely different than you. And so having that kind of openness and inclusivity in communities, whether it be a senior living community or a greater community, that's why it's so vitally important. Adam, thank you very much for being with us today. Before we let you go, is there anything else that you would find important for us to know about senior living in the local area, about your organization, or any other interesting topics you'd like to discuss today?
Thanks so much. I promise not to take long here.
That's okay.
I can be a bit of a talker. But I just wanted to say, uniquely Henry Ford Village, because I've been here almost 25 years, I know the reputation it has for amazing programming and everything. But we have historically always been a entry fee community, and we've changed our model. And what we're seeing across the country is more of a rental model. So we've moved from, at one time, it used to be, you'd have to put down an entry fee, which would be similar to selling your house to move in, to now it's just month-to-month rent. There's no more entry fees. And I'm incredibly grateful to be able to share that, because that means this kind of lifestyle is going to be far more accessible, available, affordable, and of course a great value to a lot more people. So it's exciting. So many changes in our industry, all of them great, adding opportunities across the spectrum of what people might be interested in. If anyone's interested in learning more, there's so much out there to take advantage of. I just encourage you to search, find, even come to Henry Ford Village. We have counselors that work with people. We realize maybe this is for you, or maybe something else is. We'll help you discover what it is that you want and where's the best fit. There's an awful lot out there to take in. So I just encourage you to start, as I said in the beginning, Peter Drucker, it wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. Don't wait till you have to do something. Get out there and do it before and enjoy what are tremendous opportunities and lifestyle choices for you to have. So with that, that would be my final word of wisdom or hope for you.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Adam Sterling, Resident Life and Business Development Director at Henry Ford Village Senior Living in Dearborn. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we will transition from Dearborn to the entire Metro Detroit area as we speak to the CEO of Focus Hope. Portia Roberson will join us next on the Megacast.
To Sophia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Can I ask you a question?
Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft in our studios here alongside our studio engineer, Calvin Brown. And as we continue through the pandemic and even beyond the pandemic, fostering our youth to be able to approach the world in ways that is productive for them, but also for our local communities becomes even more important. And someone on the front lines of that issue that is helping support youth in our local area in Metro Detroit is Portia Roberson, CEO of Focus Hope, who joins us now on the Megacast. Portia, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. Appreciate having you on. So for those that aren't familiar, that are tuning in and just learning about Focus Hope now, can you give a little bit of an explanation about what your organization does?
Sure. So Focus Hope is an organization that's been around for about 53 years, actually, which is quite a long time. We were started as a result of or out of the rebellion of 1967 that happened in the neighborhood where Focus Hope is still located today, started by Father Cunningham, William Cunningham, and Eleanor Jositis. And so our organization today does really three things, and we do it all under the lens of advocacy. Those three things are food for seniors, workforce training, and we have a center for children that does Head Start, early Head Start, and youth development. But again, we do it all under the lens of equity, advocacy, and community engagement.
We're joined by Portia Roberson, CEO of Focus Hope, with us today on the Megacast. And over the last year and a half that we've been in this pandemic, and as we were leading into it, there's so much of a focus on health and on what that means in our communities here in Metro Detroit, because there is such diversity of different communities, certainly demographic diversity and socioeconomic diversity here in southeastern Michigan, and so health means something different from one person to another, even if it has the same basic definitions. And this summer, Focus Hope had an opportunity to partner with Healthy America, the Michelle Obama Pass the Love campaign. Can you explain a little bit about what that involvement was and how that impacted our local community?
Well, sure, and you hit it right on the head. We saw the disparities in in diverse communities about the response to the COVID pandemic, but more importantly, what was available for people when the pandemic initially hit. And so the Pass the Love campaign with the Partnership for a Healthy America is something that was launched by former First Lady Michelle Obama when she was at the White House, but has continued on. It's sort of a play on her show on Netflix, which is Waffles and Mochi. So it's a kid show. And it really is to encourage parents to cook healthy with their children. So we were able for 4 weeks to give out each week a different box. That box had ingredients, recipes, and then in addition to that, we gave out a produce bag. And so you could take that box home. The box was enough food to cook 3 separate recipe meals, and it would feed 4 people. And it really, again, was about making sure that communities that don't necessarily have easy access to fresh food were able to actually have that, try different things, try things that they wouldn't normally see in the grocery stores that they do frequent, and just have an opportunity to connect with their children and cook with their children. This last 19 months or so has been so overwhelming for anyone. And, you know, there have been times when I'm sure as parents, if you've been homeschooling all day, the last thing you feel like doing at the end of the day is really figuring out what you should make for dinner and what your kids can have for dinner. And so this was sort of an opportunity for us to give back to the communities that we serve and make sure that they have some things that they can do with their children that take some of the burden off of making those decisions at the end of a day.
And it also gives the kids an opportunity to be involved in that element of their home life, and to have that involvement that gives them something to communicate with their parents about, to engage with their parents about, but also to do some learning outside of traditional formats such as in the classroom and school, while also benefiting their long-term health and the health of their families.
Yeah, cooking is a science. I mean, I'm not a big cooker, but it is a form of science, right? It's measuring, it's math, it's thinking about how things combine and how it makes for good tasting food. So it absolutely is exactly what you said. It's a way in which you teach your children, you know, in a different way than what the traditional school or the non-traditional school looked like for the past year or so. You know, and it also is a way in which your kids will start to talk to you, that they might not do that when you ask them a certain question, but when you're in the kitchen and you're working together, conversations begin and you find out things from your children that you might not otherwise find out.
We're joined by Portia Roberson. She is the CEO of Focus Hope. Find more information on Focus Hope on their website, focushope.edu. And on top of this effort with Michelle Obama and the Healthy America Partnership, Focus Hope has also partnered with Bank of America for a student leadership program as well. Can you tell us a little bit about what that entails and the various ways that is helping local kids in our area?
Well, I mean, I'm so proud of our partnership with Bank of America. We've been doing this now for the 3 years that I've been at Focus Hope. It really has been an opportunity to allow kids from diverse backgrounds to come into Focus Hope, to really give us some ideas about things that we can do to move Focus Hope forward. You know, if you've been in an institution that's been around for 53 years, you can get a little stagnant in your ideas. And so these young people bring in really great new ideas for us. They help us with social media, they help us with other presentations, and ways in which we really do our work. And so we're really excited to have them. Your last guest was talking about diverse populations. I think it's so important that sometimes you bring together populations that would not otherwise know one another, right? So we had kids that are from Detroit, we had kids that were from the suburbs, but we also had kids who, even though they may have both been from Detroit, grew up on the Southwest side, or were Latinx children, or African American children, or white children who would not otherwise see each other or know each other or talk about their various life experiences. So it's not only beneficial to us, but it's beneficial to them because it widens their world. And I don't think that can ever be a bad thing.
And these programs, too, also provide the children with exposure to a number of different industries, a number of different opportunities that may be available to them down the road, especially as they get older and they're preparing to go into the productive world and get a job or pursue their education. It gives them that exposure that in many cases in many of our communities, unfortunately, may not have been there otherwise.
Absolutely. I mean, we have kids, you know, that have never been exposed to sort of the banking industry and the idea of banking and what that looks like. It might be that they come from a situation where that has not been their experience in their home, right? So they get sort of a financial background that they wouldn't normally otherwise get. And it's really interesting, especially right now, because I see these things on social media that talk about some of the classes that we do in high school or college should be converted from your basic sort of English lit class that you have to take 2 or 3 years into, a credit and finance class. So kids know what it means to get, credit and how to do a mortgage when you get ready to buy your first home or whatever. And so I think this is like a step in that direction where you're giving young people, as they matriculate into either their senior year of high school or college experience, some of that background that they're going to need, that they're going to utilize as they become professional working adults.
We're joined by Portia Roberson. She is the CEO of Focus Hope with us on the Megacast today. And on top of that program, so in this program, the students are, of course, engaging with Bank of America and with some other professionals in the local industry. But beyond that, what else do they experience as they're going through this program? How long is it, and what is the participation like for these students?
Well, it's the entire summer. It's been a little different for the last 2 years because obviously most of their activities have been virtual. They definitely helped us out on the partnership with the Healthy America and the Pass the Love campaign. They were very instrumental in making sure that was driven in the right way. But it really is them giving us some of their ideas, but also getting the experience of, I'm a lawyer, that's how I was trained, but I operate as the CEO of a nonprofit. So they want to know, what does that mean? What does it mean when you say, I'm the CFO or the CDO? So there are a lot of experiences that we have that we can share with them that are not necessarily traditional. I mean, I tell them all the time, I went to law school, and when you usually think of lawyers, you think of a courtroom. And so I'm far off the mark from that, right? And so they want to know a little bit about that. They want to know what other people do. And I encourage that because I think so often we all kind of get on a track of what our profession is going to be before we really thought about all the possibilities that are out there, all the various careers and job opportunities that are out there. And so this is just a small way in which we give back in terms of thinking about what the future could look like.
We're joined by Portia Roberson. She is the CEO of Focus Hope. Find more information on her organization at focushope.edu, and not just these programs specifically for job training, vocational training that will be helpful down the line. Your organization provides educational opportunities and programs for kids at a number of different ages as well. Does sustaining those programs over the life of these kids, obviously it's going to have a bit bigger impact than them coming in just for some early learning training and so on and so forth, or just coming in for training while they're high school age. Having that across the board provides more of a broad scope. Do you find that you're having more kids in recent times that are with your organization for an extended period of time? What impact does that have on their development and the opportunities that they find from having those experiences?
Well, I like to say that, once you're a part of the Focus Hope family, you're always a part of the Focus Hope family. So we may have a child in our Head Start or Early Head Start program, but that child's parents might be in our workforce program. That child's grandparent may receive some of our food from our supplemental food program for seniors. And so it's a continuum. We don't necessarily, see the child, or they might come back and participate in a program that we have while they're in high school, but they continuously come back. And oftentimes what they do is they come back to volunteer. To be quite honest with you, they come back because they want to give back to a program that they feel that they got quite a bit from. So we're always open for our students that come, or our children that come at the very young age to come back and help us out, to come back and participate in other programs. And then also we encourage their families to get involved with Focus Hope in various ways so that we can be helpful to them, because we know that then that turns out to be helpful for that child. So it is a continuum, and we are trying to make sure that we are there for the entire family from birth to the time when they are more seasoned, mature members of their family, just to make sure that we are serving residents of not only Detroit, but also of the region. I always like to point out, we feed about 42,000 seniors per month, and we do that in Wayne County, Oakland County, Macomb County, and even Washtenaw County. So we know that the need is there, particularly with our seniors. We want to make sure that any senior who needs supplemental food is given that food and has that opportunity with us. But we know that also a senior or a parent who's not worried and under constant stress about how they're going to eat or how they're going to get employed is going to be a better parent to that child who's in early education or who's in our youth development program. And it's as simple as that.
We're joined by Portia Roberson. She's the CEO of Focus Hope. on the Megacast, and your organization does such excellent work for kids and for adults alike. But especially right now where it can be so difficult to provide even basic services to people in our community, what are the greatest needs at this moment in time for your organization in order to continue to provide these excellent services at the level that you do?
Well, I think, we've seen the need ebb and flow over the course of the last year and a half or so. We noticed immediately when schools closed and parents had their kids at home with them, we immediately kind of converted to make sure we were giving out things like formula, diapers, wipes. Our early education program is really from birth to 4 years old. So you can imagine if you're a parent, you were accustomed to having your children with us 6-8 hours a day, and all of a sudden we sent that child home. Some of our families didn't have some of the basic things that they needed in order to have a child home all day. Internet service. We had to work on, sort of decreasing this digital divide that exists in a lot of communities where not everybody can just go into, their office at home and get on their computer and have internet service readily available, or that they even have a computer at home to get on to continue to do workforce training. So it was both a measure of looking at what our families needed immediately, whether that was some additional food items we could give them, diapers, wipes, formula, as I mentioned, but also making sure they could still participate with us virtually. And so we'll continue to see that for a while. I think it's not going to change right away. We certainly aren't going to change our model. We're going to allow families who choose to participate with us virtually to continue to do that a little bit. But we do know now that we are seeing parents wanting to bring their kids back into our programs, feeling a little bit safer. And so now what our desire is in terms of their needs is to give them a safe and healthy environment for them to be with us for, 8 hours a day again.
We're joined by Portia Roberson, CEO of Focus Hope, with us on the Megacast. Portia, just another minute or so before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that would be important or interesting for our audience to know about Focus Hope today?
Well, I always make sure to add that I'm so proud of our team because we kept going throughout the entire pandemic. We didn't shut down for one day. We made quick conversions. I always joke that I was a little pessimistic in the very beginning of this, and I was hearing rumors that there was going to be, quote unquote, a shutdown, which at that time in February of 2019, nobody even knew what a shutdown of a country basically would look like. But I'm really proud that we were able to continue to make sure we're meeting the needs of all of the clients that we serve. I mean, I always say that when you come to Focus Hope in whatever capacity, at whatever time, we've all been kind of learned to say we can do it by our own bootstraps. We can pull ourselves up on our own. We don't need additional help. And so I think that when people come to us, it's because they decided to be vulnerable and say, I need a little help. And we want to make sure that we're there to give them that help. And we're going to continue to do that as much as we possibly can. And as we see the needs change, we're going to shift with that and make sure we can satisfy those needs as well.
Well, Portia, we appreciate having you on today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Portia Roberson, CEO of Focus Hope. Find more information on their organization at focushope.edu. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening and watching the Megacast on your radio home, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. On the other side of the break, we'll speak with Ryan Haack, the author of Different is Awesome and the founder of LivingOnehanded.com.
Want a shot at winning big? Get your COVID-19 vaccine today. Those vaccinated within the last 24 hours are now eligible in a daily drawing of $50,000. Yesterday, someone won. Today, someone will win. And tomorrow, you could too. If you've been putting off getting your vaccine, make today the day. Don't miss out on entering for your shot to win. Must be 18 or over. Sweepstakes rules apply. Get eligibility details and enter at mishottowin.com.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith in our studios here in West Bloomfield Township. You're watching us on Civic Center TV and Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Our television channels are on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99. We're also on the radio in the Birmingham Bloomfield area on 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, and online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can find Megacast content on civiccentertv.com/Megacast and watch us live also on My Michigan TV, My Michigan Television, available on your smart TV, on your smartphone, anywhere, anytime, as well as on the web. My Michigan TV is MYMITV or MyMITV.com. Subscribe today, and is absolutely free to watch content from all over the state of Michigan and a number of different creators and a number of different genres as well. And we're pleased to be joined now by Ryan Haack. He is the author of Different is Awesome and the founder of LivingOnehanded.com. Ryan, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Tyler. It's great to be here.
Appreciate having you on. You have a really interesting story because certainly there are always going to be differences between one person and another, and those differences, unfortunately, in many cases, especially growing up, are the kinds of things that people will single you out for. And in your case, you were born in 1977, missing your left forearm, and you've remained that way ever since. You have one arm, and you are living an incredible life. Even on top of that, you're an author. You played organized sports. You regularly speak to students and classes. What is your ultimate message that you're aiming to get out there as you continue to interact with the public and talk about your main difference from other people and the ways that it really doesn't make you any different than anybody else?
Yeah, I mean that's a lot, and it's all good. I think my main message really is that being different is awesome, and I know that there are times where it may not feel that way. There are times that it isn't that way, honestly. But I think the attitude that I have is embracing those things, especially in other people. That when we're able to embrace it in ourselves. So you can see here, I was born with one hand, like you said, and it really didn't affect me growing up. I didn't mind. I had really supportive friends and family and teachers and other students. And so for me, growing up seemed pretty normal. I wasn't bullied really. And so later on in life, probably my early 30s, actually, I ran into a family at a local restaurant here, and there was a little boy who had an arm like mine. I remember he was actually wearing a Detroit Tigers jersey, and I was talking to him about baseball. You can see I'm a Brewers fan. I know, I'm from Wisconsin. But I remember just it being a big deal to them that there was someone who looked like their son that was kind of further down the road, you know? And so it got me thinking, well, how can I help? Because my journey was, to me at least, was pretty normal, and I felt like I could help other people. And so that's when I started LivingOnehanded.com and talked about what it's like to be a person who has a physical difference, something that's visible, people can see it easily. You know, how do I deal with being stared at? How do I do different things? Started making videos about how I do things, and they're all pretty funny. And the goal is, you know, to help parents, especially who maybe they found out their baby's going to be born without a hand and they're freaking out, and now, you know, they're able to say, well, things are actually going to be okay. That's my goal with that. And so then I did write this book. It's called Different is Awesome. It's actually based on a true story. One of my younger brothers, my brother Joey, his teacher told him to bring something cool for show and tell. And so he brought me one year and kind of sat me in front of all of his friends and said, this is my brother Ryan. He has one hand. And they asked me questions about how I did things. And so the book kind of retells that story. And as you go along, you realize that each of the students who are asking him questions has something different about them as well, whether they're tall or they're short, maybe they have red hair or they have freckles. And the point of it is that we all have things that are different about us than other people. And when we embrace that in ourselves, then we can embrace that and celebrate that in other people. And so it's really a message of inclusion, of diversity, and celebration of those things.
And you post a lot of your blogs on your website on livingonehanded.com, and it's on a variety of different topics. Different is awesome, of course, is one of them. The deal with prosthetic arms and my thoughts on using a prosthesis, how to play piano one-handed is one of them, and also one that's entitled "I Am Not One-Armed." So you have a number of different messages that not only focus on the life of someone that was born with one hand and has lived just fine with one hand and is no different than anybody else, and the differences in this case is, as you said, awesome. But on top of that, you're trying to reach a number of different people, both people that have these differences themselves and those that maybe are interacting with them as well. What's your ultimate goal with both of those groups? Because it's going to reach people in different ways, getting your message if you're someone that has grown up with both hands and has grown up without your experiences, but also someone that has grown up with somebody that has a physical difference as well.
Right. Yeah, those are really great observations, honestly, because they are two very different things. One is I want people who are affected by, in my case, a limb difference, to know that they're not alone, to know that the experiences they're going through are not just unique to them, but others of us have experienced that, and they don't have to go through things alone. Especially, like I said, parents, it's such a big deal to me. I mean, I'm a parent myself. I have 3 teenagers now, and I know parenting is hard, regardless of how many hands your kids have. But when they have one or none or what, it adds something to it. And so I want them to know, hey, I'm here for you. If you have questions, I want you to know that it's going to be okay. And then on the other side, like you said, I do want people who haven't gone through that to be able to experience some of that, to open their eyes up to some of those experiences, because like you said, we're equal, and I don't want to diminish the fact that I am different, right? Like it is one of those things where I don't necessarily want to say that I'm the same as everyone, because I'm clearly not. Like having one hand is a difference from other people, and so I am different in that way, and yet I'm a person just like anybody else, like you said. And so I have feelings, I have likes and dislikes, I have hobbies, I have things that I'm good at, things that I struggle with, just like anybody else. And so the goal really for me is to normalize it and to say, while I am different, I am also mostly the same. And there are things that we can connect over where my hand doesn't even come up. I have so many friends that there are times they forget that I have one hand, which is funny to me because I live with it. But it goes to show that when you make those connections over other things, which we all have, you can kind of minimize that and normalize that. And I love doing that with kids, especially at schools, kind of laying that groundwork of accepting people the way they are, no matter what they look like.
We're joined by Ryan Haack. He's the author of Difference is Awesome and the founder of livingonehanded.com. And we mentioned earlier, we touched on that you do like to visit schools and businesses and speak with groups and with individuals as well about your message. And if people are interested in that, because this is such an important message, especially to get out to kids as they're growing up and they're learning about different kinds of people and that are not similar to themselves and their families in one way or another, and as they branch out their greater scope of the world. But it's also important for adults as well to continue to learn about people that are different from them in some ways or another and embrace that as well. So if people are interested in having you speak to them or are interested in picking your brain about living different, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah. I mean, I think the easiest way, you could just send me an email, ryan@livingonehanded.com. If you're interested in having me speak either in person or virtually, livingonehanded.com/speaking, or you can just go to that page. There's a speaking button right there and has a simple form to kind of get that started. And, I think you're totally right. Like, one thing that I've loved about speaking, especially, going to schools, is a huge thing, because kids, they don't know, right? They need to learn. And so it's an honor for me to go stand in front of, 300 third graders and help them understand that just because someone looks different than you Doesn't mean you need to be afraid of them or pity them, but include them and get to know them as a person. But also, like you said, going to businesses, going to organizations and speaking to them. It does not matter how old you are. You can be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, it doesn't matter. We all need to hear that message that being different is awesome, that those things that are unique about you are valuable. And I have found that over and over when I go and speak, I'll have adults come up and say, I needed to hear that. Especially, I hear it from people who have teenagers who are trying to help them through. And they're like, I feel like a hypocrite almost, because I'm trying to help my daughter or my son get through this thing. And I don't feel the way that I'm telling them. And so it's interesting and really fulfilling for me to see that in kids and adults, that we all need to hear that message that being different is awesome, and embracing those things that make us unique.
We're joined by Ryan Haack. He's the author of Different is Awesome and the founder of LivingOnehanded.com. And you're also, as you said earlier, a big baseball fan. We see the Milwaukee Brewers hat. We'll let it go. It's the National League. It's okay.
That's right.
We don't mind that here in the Detroit area. But you also
That's right.
grew up
we're in different leagues.
We're fine. It's all good. We're all friends here. And you grew up as a big baseball fan as well. And one of your favorite players, of course, what you have said is Jim Abbott. And of course, Jim Abbott is an all-time great. And he was born, of course, without a right hand. In your case, you were born without left arm. He was born without a right arm and a right hand, and played a successful MLB career. You've even interviewed him on your podcast, Podcasting One-Handed. What about Jim Abbott, other than the similarities that you each have, having both been born without one of your arms? What about Jim Abbott inspires you and makes him such a favorite for you as a baseball fan and just on a human level as well?
Yeah, Jim is amazing. I've had the honor of becoming friends with him over the years. In fact, he has the blurb on the back of my book is actually from Jim, which is incredible to me. As a kid, I grew up idolizing Jim. In fact, here I have, right within reach, I have a signed Michigan jersey baseball card of Jim Abbott right there. And so I've had the opportunity to meet him and kind of pick his brain. And, for me, when I was a kid, we didn't have the internet. And so there wasn't really a way to find other people who were like you. And so that wasn't something that really crossed my mind. But when he started playing baseball and it became national news and I could look in the paper and see the box scores and kind of follow his career, it was a huge deal to me. He did end up playing for the Brewers at the tail end of his career, which was really cool. But I think the thing about Jim that I love the most is that he's so down to earth, and he's able to say, hey, it ebbs and flows, and so when he talks to kids, when he talks to adults and students, and about our differences, he talks about how it kind of comes in and out of our lives. We live our lives day to day, and sometimes it comes into it, sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. But developing kind of a resiliency to those challenging times. And so, yeah, Jim has been an inspiration to me personally, just growing up. But even now, I count it an honor, like I said, to be a friend of his and to lean on him for advice. And he's just such an encouraging, amazing guy as well.
My producer Larry says that when you have a good story about when you were a kid and you would be playing baseball, of course inspired by the play of Jim, one of your favorites, but you go up to the plate for the first time against a new team. What was going through your head? What was kind of the reaction from them, and how did you embrace that moment and push through?
Right. Yeah, it is, I'm a big sports guy. I love playing sports, whether it's basketball, football, baseball. I don't actually play soccer, which everyone just assumes I do because you can't use your hands. So I don't know if that was something I actually thought of or not, but yeah, every time I would start playing a sport, whether it's that first at bat or that first shot or that first, running out for a catch, I was always thinking like, I need to do well because I want to show them that I can compete just like anybody. And I could tell kind of on their faces that they weren't exactly sure what to do. And so when I'd get up to bat first, I could see them kind of like, okay, do I walk in? Do I stay where I am? What exactly do I do? And so almost without fail, I would get a hit at my first at bat. And then they would all kind of say, oh, okay, he can play. Okay, well, now we're going to treat him like anybody else. So it was kind of a double-edged sword there, right? Because it was an advantage at that first at bat, but then it was like, oh well, now we're going to play him tough, and that was what I wanted, right? That was the goal, was to say, I can compete just like anybody else. And so don't treat me differently. And I'm going to show you that you don't need to treat me differently. And so it was the same thing, like I said, with basketball or football, whatever. It took a play or two, and then everybody realized, oh, okay, he can play. Let's go. And that, I always appreciated that. I still do.
We're joined by Ryan Haack. He is an author of Different is Awesome and a founder of LivingOnehanded.com. And Ryan, just another couple minutes with you before we say goodbye today. If people want to get in contact with you, if they want to find more information on everything that you're doing and certainly your advocacy work, where can they find that?
Yeah, so if you go to LivingOnehanded.com is my main website, you can find information on my book there, information on speaking engagements there as well. I'm also very active on Instagram and on Facebook. Instagram is just @LivingOnehanded. Facebook is just facebook.com/LivingOnehanded. So pretty easy to find me there. I did actually just get, I'm holding the sixth printing of my book. It actually came out in 2015, and it's connected so well with people all over the world. And so I just, within the last few days, got the sixth printing of it. So I have them available now. If you would like a copy, happy to sign them and personalize them. I have some special gifts, like I showed you this. This might be something that I tuck inside there. And so you can, like I said, reach out to me, Ryan@LivingOnehanded.com, and I'm happy to make that happen. And like you said before, like I am willing to share my experience and give any encouragement or advice or answer any questions or anything that I'm able to do. I love doing that. That's something that really satisfies me personally. And so don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to do that.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate having you on today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Have a great week.
You as well. Ryan Haack, he is an author of Different is Awesome, and you can find more information about him and everything that he does at LivingOnehanded.com. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we will move over to our friends over in the City of Rochester and speak with their Chief of Police, Steve Schettenhelm, about everything going on in the City of Rochester. That coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in our studios here in West Bloomfield, alongside our studio engineer, Calvin Brown. We're pleased to be joined now once again by the Chief of Police, Steve Schettenhelm from the City of Rochester. Chief Schettenhelm joins us now with a special guest as well. Wasn't expecting this. Chief, who's there with you?
Well, this is Walter, and he's the newest member of our K-9 crew here at the Rochester Police Department, and Walter is in training to become a therapy dog.
Okay, so he's new to your department. He's being trained to be a therapy dog. Do you have any other therapy dogs currently in your department, or is this something that's new to the Rochester Police Department?
Yeah, Walter's new. He's 14 weeks old. He's a doodle mix, and in addition to Walter, we do have I don't know what to use the word conventional, but we have a German Shepherd who's patrol dog does tracking and narcotics detection. And then we have Pearl, who is a explosive detection dog. So Walter's job is going to be primarily in schools, visiting nursing homes, keeping the officers company here as well, and just putting smiles on people's faces.
Well, going off of that positive note, let's go towards something that's significantly less positive. We've seen reports and we've seen some studies recently that there's been an uptick in speeding all throughout, not just Michigan, but really across the U.S. as people are getting back on the roads and as people that were continuing to be driving during the pandemic are adjusting to having more people out on the roads. We've seen that speeding has become more common, and unfortunately, we had a deadly crash in Auburn Hills last weekend that was a result of that, especially now as we're heading into Dream Cruise season. Are you concerned as the chief of police in Rochester about upticks in speeding, as not only as people are going out and celebrating the muscle car culture of Metro Detroit, but also as people are getting back out on the roads more familiarly and maybe are a little cagey still from the pandemic?
Well, I think we're always encouraging folks to make sure that they're being safe on the road and keeping their speed monitored. We do a lot of things here in the community through our enforcement to try to keep speeds down. Done a couple of speed studies recently, and fortunately in our city have proven to be the speeds have been pretty well maintained in some of our residential areas. So not something that we've seen here, but I'm guessing, that I know that we've heard reports of speeding on freeways and the major thoroughfares is up for sure.
We're joined by Stephen Schettenhelm. He is the chief of police for the City of Rochester. We're also joined by the new City of Rochester therapy dog, Walter, as well on the Megacast today. And Chief, recently a little bit of action also with the Rochester Police Department as they were involved in a chase to track down an Indiana woman who led police on a chase all throughout Oakland County in a vehicle that she had stolen. What was the situation there, and how did that come to a resolution here in our area?
Right. We received a notice from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office that they were in pursuit of this pickup truck, and ultimately it was a stolen car from out of state. Our officers set up on University and monitored the radio traffic. And rather than getting involved in the pursuit per se, they were able to put out stop sticks, and those are devices that will flatten the tires on the suspect's vehicle. And they were able to get those out into the roadway and puncture tires on the suspect vehicle. And shortly thereafter, the vehicle did come to a stop, and the person was apprehended, and there were no injuries. And really as successful as something and as dangerous as that can be, we certainly appreciate when it can come to that type of conclusion.
We're joined by Steve Schettenhelm. He is the chief of police of the Rochester Police Department with us today on the Megacast. And Chief, over the last several weeks and certainly the last couple of months, we've had a lot of severe weather here in Michigan, especially in southeastern Michigan, which has led to a lot of power outages and problems for people in various areas throughout metropolitan Detroit, not only keeping their devices powered up, but also their homes powered up as well for a variety of different reasons, especially as we've had a really hot summer also and a humid summer. So what has your department been doing in partnership with others in the community? I know that recently Rochester Police had advised people to power up devices and cool off at the public library or downtown or at the Older Persons Commission on Letica, both of which all had power. So what has your department been doing in terms of helping people that are in a situation like that where they have their power out, especially during the summer?
Sure. When something like that happens, there's that initial rush really to try to make things safe, because these power outages are usually traced down to wires that are down. And so there's a lot of anxious moments. We probably took 20 runs in 40 minutes, emergency runs with our police and fire department responding to different areas where traffic signals were out, lines were down, Some of those were arcing and sparking and causing safety issues for homeowners attached to their homes. So there's a lot of quick reactions where our dispatch folks are very busy answering phones, and our police and firefighters are out responding to those calls to kind of, I guess, kind of get things calmed down and safe in the neighborhoods. Then it's a matter of following up and make sure that the neighborhoods are patrolled, because it gets pretty dark. Without those street lights, we kind of take them for granted. And then also, trying to get the word out so that people can kind of watch out for their neighbors and make sure that everybody, if people have medical needs that require power, we try to help them with that. As you pointed out, we did open up a couple of cooling centers for people to not only get some cool temperatures, but also these days it's very important to keep all our devices charged up, and so we made what means for that to happen. And then, sadly, the last thing we did was we actually set up an area where people could dispose of their food, because a lot of people lost a lot of things in their refrigerator, and rather than that having to sit around the house and wait for the next trash day, we set up a location at our fire department with a couple of trucks there so that people could get that out of the house and dispose of it safely.
Steve Schettenhelm joins us. He's the Chief of Police of the City of Rochester with us today on the Megacast. Chief, just another couple minutes with you before we say goodbye today. Is there anything else that would be important for residents and visitors of Rochester to know at this time?
No, we're back in special event season. Next week after Labor Day, we'll have the famous Art and Apples Festival coming to town, and so we encourage people to visit the city and certainly take the COVID precautions that they feel necessary to keep themselves safe. But we're certainly, downtown is open and vibrant, and looking for those people to come down and visit and enjoy a day in our downtown or in our parks or trails.
Well, Chief, we appreciate having you on today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Chief Steve Schettenhelm from the City of Rochester, the City of Rochester Chief of Police, with us on the Megacast. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll speak to 4 local students who are helping other kids in our local area get the equipment that they need to play the sports that they love. That coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
Joined now by 4 high school students who have taken their love of sports to help provide equipment that is necessary for other kids just like them to participate in the games that they love. We're joined by Cooper Schoenberg, Carter Lutz, Ethan Wise, and Mitchell Greenberger. They are Birmingham high school students now on the Megacast. Thanks for being with us, guys.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
So let's So let's start off, Cooper. Let's start with you. Give us a little bit of an overview about this equipment drive that the four of you are planning. What kind of equipment are you looking for, and where and how can people donate?
Okay, perfect. So we're a sports podcast. We thought, why not give back? We're a sports podcast. Let's do a sports drive. And I partnered with Brilliant Detroit last year, so I thought, let's partner with them again. They were really easy. They were phenomenal. So we started this sports drive to give back to the community. We all grew up playing sports, meeting each other through sports. So we wanted other kids that were less fortunate to have the same opportunity, play sports. So we collected equipment for ages around 8 to 12, and it's literally any sports equipment you have, whether it's basketball shoes, tennis shoes, rackets, football, baseball, anything you got, we will take. It helps. It goes a really long way. You can find our Instagram at the student section _ with a lot of information. And Brilliant Detroit has posted a couple things about where to find us. You can contact our emails on the flyers that Brilliant Detroit posted, and it has all of our addresses on it.
So for those that are not familiar with Brilliant Detroit, what does this organization do to help provide this equipment and these opportunities to kids in the local area? And why did your podcast decide on this organization to provide this equipment to from your drive?
Great question. So they're an organization based in Detroit, and they have houses all throughout the city. And basically, they're kind of just a shelter or a way for people to escape and get some help that they need, or if mothers have kids that need help, they can go to the Brilliant Detroit houses and they can play sports, meet new people. So it's a really good way for people to escape the chaos in the city. And we partner with them because, as I said, I partnered with them last year. They were phenomenal. They were super easy. They are very efficient, and they're just a great organization that helps a great cause. So we thought, why not partner with them again?
And this is something that's characteristic of all four of you, having outside of your podcast and just in your individual life, is also doing service to the community. Let's move on. Carter, you're also a multi-sport athlete and have previously done some work with your sister in a nonprofit that she does a lot of work with to collect school dance dresses and accessories to provide for underprivileged girls to have those similar experiences themselves. For you personally, as a young man who is, of course, growing up and going through the experiences of any young man, but having these opportunities, how important is it for you to give back to the community and put forth these efforts to help other kids have those similar experiences, knowing that it has such an impact on your life?
Yeah, well, the thing that we really wanted to get out of this is that we know that we can make a big difference because our community is so large. We have so many people that want to donate. So to have that opportunity to capitalize on that opportunity, as you said before, we all played sports growing up. And Cooper mentioned, these kids are not fortunate enough to provide, the materials for that. And so it's important for me and obviously all of us that we make a difference in these kids' lives and they get to play sports because that's what's fun about growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And Mitchell, also you're a varsity tennis player. You did, over the course of the pandemic, you did food collecting drives to provide additional food to people that maybe were not able to afford it or get healthy food for themselves and their family over the course of the pandemic. In this case, with you and your podcast partners here, is this the first collective drive or charitable effort that the four of you have put together, or is this something that you have all done before and this is sort of a new effort that you're going for right now?
So we've all, helped the community with our own efforts, but this is the first time us four have really come together as friends. We've really decided to come together, use our platform and podcast to make a difference in the community. So this was the first time us four in specific have gotten together to do stuff, but we've all been doing stuff to help the community for years now.
We're joined by Cooper Schoenberg, Carter Lutz, Ethan Wise, and Mitchell Greenberger on the Megacast. They're Birmingham High School students, and they are also running a drive to collect sports equipment for Brilliant Detroit, an organization that provides equipment for childhood sports programs to kids all throughout the local area. You can find more information or get more information about how to donate these items by contacting Cooper Schoenberg at cschoenberg123@gmail.com. And Brilliant Detroit is also accepting donations at Southwest Chadsey Condon Hub location at 5676 Larkin Street in Detroit. We'll provide that address and that information to you in the description that will be on our website when we put this up on demand on civiccentertv.com later on today. So let's take a little bit of a step back as we are talking about this. And Ethan, let's talk a little bit about the podcast that you guys do. So the four of you have started a podcast. That's kind of how you guys came together and started this drive as a podcast. Ethan, how long have the four of you been doing this podcast, and where can people maybe find that and listen to it?
I think we started, September this year? We started early this year. Mm-hmm. We had the idea, though, like when quarantine first started, we decided that we were going to make a sports podcast, but we didn't get around to it until like a year later.
We're joined by Cooper Schoenberg, Carter Lutz, Ethan Wise, and Mitchell Greenberger. They are the co-hosts of the Student Section podcast and are also holding a sports equipment collection drive that benefits Brilliant Detroit. So, guys, where can we find your podcast? Where can people listen to it?
You can find it in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and that's basically it. All you have to do is search up the Student Section and it'll pop right up.
Yeah, and also on our Instagram at the Student Section _, we post a lot of like content on there. Like you can interact with us on there.
Yeah.
Through the story, we do like polls where you can vote on stuff. So that's like a fun way to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the collection drive that's currently going on, when did it start? How long do people have to donate this equipment for these kids?
So we started the drive, I think back in May. We decided we were going to collect things, and we're going to keep the drive going. We've still been receiving donations, and we know how easy it is for people, just to go in their garage. You can really find anything, and we're going to use it. We're going to take it to those kids for good use. And so we started back in May. We're going to keep it going until at least September, see what happens, and the donations keep coming, and you guys can donate too. It's really easy. Again, as we said, we have addresses on our Instagram. You can go straight to Brilliant Detroit. And yeah.
And what's the response been so far? You said that the four of you started this drive back in May, so it's been a few months that's been ongoing, that you've been collecting these items, donating them to Brilliant Detroit, who are then distributing them to kids that really are in need of this equipment to play the sports that they love. So far, what has been the response from Brilliant Detroit, and what impact has your drive had on these kids?
I mean, I can take this one. It's been really positive. They've been really appreciative, and we really appreciate them for giving us the outlet to give back to the community, which is just so important to us. So we really appreciate everything that they're doing, and they appreciate everything that we're doing.
You can find more information on Brilliant Detroit at brilliantdetroit.org. We're joined at the moment by the co-hosts of the Student Section podcast, Cooper Schoenberg, Carter Lutz, Ethan Wise, and Mitchell Greenberger. And are there specific kinds of equipment that you're looking for with this drive? Are there certain kinds of equipment for certain sports that are more of a need for Brilliant Detroit than others?
So our biggest needs we're looking for, things like baseball bats, mitts, basketballs, footballs, like baseballs, any type of basic equipment really we need. We don't prioritize any type over the other, but because we have on our Instagram a certain list and things on the, also Brilliant Detroit posted the list of equipment. We don't really prioritize anything over anything else, but just the basic, mitts, balls, anything that the kids can use easily.
Yeah.
Once again, just before we say goodbye, another few minutes here with you guys, where can people find more information or get in contact with you about this drive if they want to donate?
They can contact me at cschoenberg123@gmail.com. We have our Instagram at the student section _ which has a lot of flyers, which contains a lot of information about the drive, like where you can donate at the Brilliant Detroit office, or our addresses at our homes where you can drop it off. We all have signs out on our front porches, which is easy to find and see, and you can drop any equipment off there.
Yeah, all of our emails are up there. Brilliant Detroit's up there. So if you have any questions, anything you need, we're all here and just trying to help out.
And again, you can also email Cooper at cschoenberg123@gmail.com. Brilliant Detroit is accepting donations at Southwest Chadzik Hunden Hub location. We'll provide that address to you in the description of this interview, and then you can find more information on Brilliant Detroit at brilliantdetroit.org. And then, guys, just before I leave, I'm looking at the background. You guys are sports podcasters. You do your student section podcast, and I've seen in the background there, I see not one but two different signs for the Chicago Bulls, and I have to ask, why the Bulls? We're in Pistons country here. What's going on?
I'm a Chicago native.
We're the Pistons.
Okay.
All three Detroit, one Chicago.
Okay, I'll accept that. That's much more acceptable. What are your thoughts then? In that case, as a Chicago native and a Chicago sports fan, Ethan, what are your thoughts on some of their free agent acquisitions? Big summer it's been for them with Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan coming in.
Oh, I'm pumped. DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, all the boys. The Chicago Bulls are a playoff team.
Yeah, it's looking good. Things are definitely looking good for them, and they're looking good here in Detroit as well for the other three of you as we bring in Cade Cunningham and a number of other to this great young core that the Pistons have. So thank you guys for joining us on the Megacast today. We appreciate it, and for those of you tuning in, you can find more information on Brilliant Detroit at brilliantdetroit.org.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you did. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back to the Megacast. Just about 15 minutes left in today's show, and it's nice to cool off last segment, get the sleeves off here. But now we're back in business with more important interviews from right here in Oakland County. And as people go through the rest of their summer, and we're in the very end of it, heading into the fall season, it's still a season where people love to join the Oakland County Farmers Market. We're joined by the market manager, Jeremy Brown, once again here on the Megacast. Jeremy, thanks for being back with us.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Appreciate having you back. So you're going to have a little bit of a Dream Cruise crossover at this weekend's market. What's that going to be like?
Well, this weekend, we've got actually event-wise, we don't have any programming this weekend, but we've got lots of vendors here. With fresh produce. It's all coming in the fields right now, so you're going to find it here. The corn is in, the melons are in. come out and get your produce. I mean, there's a ton of it here. You're buying directly from the farmer, which is great. I don't know if it actually tastes better or if you think it tastes better because you know the farmer. It's probably a little bit of both. But if you're hitting the Dream Cruise, come on over and pick some stuff up for your barbecue in the afternoon.
We're joined by Jeremy Brown. He is the market manager at the Oakland County Farmers Market, and there's plenty of other special events that are coming up later on this month, and as well as in September. You got Oakland on Court, the Corn Roast, Healthy Oakland Partnership Senior Market Day as well. All that coming up. What has been the focus on these events as you're heading into the fall season and starting to transition away from summer?
Well, it's nice this year now that COVID had subsided. We're starting to do all the programming that we hadn't done in the past this last year. The closest one coming up is Oakland on Court, which is a food and wine night. The farmers market partners with the Waterford Area Chamber of Commerce, and this year our charity partner is Soil to Service, which is a culinary program. And their mission is providing education, awareness, and experiences designed to enhance the livelihood of individuals and communities while supporting a sustainable food system. So I think that they're an ideal charity partner for this event. And what does this event entail? The ticket price is $50, but for that, you will have an opportunity to sample up to 50 different wines. We have Rustic Leaf Brewery going to be here with their finest beers. We also have over a dozen restaurants scheduled to be here, including Slow's Barbecue from Detroit is coming up. Dorsey Culinary Academy will be here. We've got Square One Eats and Treats, and even our regular barbecue vendor, Redwood Grill, which is hugely popular. They'll be at the entry line serving pulled pork sliders, which is kind of cool. But we've got live music, and we'll have a silent auction. And so that's a really good event. And if that's something you think you'd like to participate in, you can go to the waterfordchamber.org and purchase your tickets. Again, $50 per person, but I think it's well worth it. I'd like to attend the event one year and not have to put it on. I get to sample some of the food, but I can't drink the wine, unfortunately.
Well, there'll be a time at some point down the line. Jeremy's got to have some fun too. Come on, someone else take over. Give him a day off. We're joined
every once in a while.
Yeah, every once in a while. We're joined by Jeremy Brown. He is the Oakland County Farmers Market manager with us today on the Megacast. And of course, you said there's no special programming at the market this weekend, but there are special activities that are constantly taking place at the Oakland County Farmers Market. And one of those that will be happening is tomorrow, on Saturday, where they'll have Studio 8 Fitness of Waterford holding yoga at the market. What are some other common just pop-up programs like that are activities that are available at the farmers market beyond going to the market and engaging with the vendors?
Well, some of the other events, we do have an art show coming up on October 10th, and that's being held with Kigo Art Sale. And we'll have, a lot of local artists, and it's anywhere from, handmade magnets that can go on your fridge, or really detailed paintings. That's a good event we've got coming up. The Oakland Conservation District is here on a regular basis. They'll be here on the 11th. On the 11th, providing conservation information. I think on the 11th they're going to be doing water testing. So you can bring in a sample of your water, and they'll do some testing. Forgive me, I don't remember exactly what they're testing for, but they're going to tell you if there's anything you need to be concerned about in your water. Also with the, in addition to the yoga, Studio 8 is also now doing Tai Chi immediately following their Saturday yoga. So that's kind of cool. We've got a big grassy area over on the west end of the market, and I like to utilize that for events. It's just such a nice setting and works out perfectly. But let's see, we've got, we'll touch on the corn roast. The corn is in, and fortunately, I've got probably a half a dozen vendors that do have the corn. I think they're all great, but they all taste a little bit different. And so on September 4th, Prelip Farm, which is out in Britain, Michigan, they've been coming here since the 70s, our largest vendor. They, along with Van Hootie Farms from Armada, they are donating the corn, and then Redwood Grill is cooking it up for us, and then we'll have volunteers serve it out to the public. And that runs from 11 to 1 p.m. on September 4th. So you should come check that out, and maybe you can get 2 ears and see which one's better between the two. We talk about doing a friendly competition, but we haven't made that happen yet. Maybe this year. So
Monday through Friday, 10 to 12 noon, you have 2 ears on the Megacast. September 4th, you'll have 2 ears of corn. It's going to be a very fun afternoon there at the Oakland County Farmers Market. We're joined by Jeremy Brown, market manager at the Farmers Market here on the Megacast today. And Jeremy, as we head into the fall season, do you have different or more varied vendors coming in for that season as opposed to summer? Are your current vendors transitioning some of what they provide at the market because of the upcoming fall season? How does that change as you head into the second, equally as busy time of your year?
Yeah, that's a good question, because a lot of our vendors, they do transition. And I'll use Pre-Lit Farm as an example. In the spring, they plant, I think it's 15,000 hanging baskets. They also have perennials and annuals and lots of different things. But then, as soon as the produce starts coming in, that's what they'll bring in. And then they shift into, once it start, really the first week of November, they will transition into all the winter things. And that being, wreaths. They sell a ton of wreaths, garland, and grave blankets. So they'll transition like that. As well as several of our other farmers. They really, like right now, you may not realize it, but right now they're preparing for that winter season. Also, coming up real soon, you're going to start seeing the mums. It's summertime, it's hot. You don't think about those mums and asters and those kale planters that are coming in. So yeah, it is kind of cool to see how they're really resilient and flexible. They need income throughout the year, not just when the produce is ready. So you will see all the, these vendors, you can visit them throughout the year and see what they've got going on. It is actually kind of cool.
We're joined by Jeremy Brown. He is the market manager of the Oakland County Farmers Market. And Jeremy, we know that there's been some changes over the last year and a half as the farmers markets continue to operate during the pandemic. So what are your current hours of operation right now, and can we expect them to be changing anytime in the near future?
No, we're Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays from May through December. And then during the winter months, we go to January through April, Saturdays only. So we're still operating. We're not doing Sundays like we did through the COVID at the beginning of the pandemic. We ran Sundays for a while just because of the demand for the food. We were deemed as an essential facility because of the food provided. We've been able to lessen the restrictions here. We come through all the doors now, masks, if you're vaccinated inside, you don't need to worry about that. So we don't see any changes when it comes to our hours of operations and what we provide. I think people would be surprised if, when they come out here to see, we have 4 different meat vendors, we have photographers, soaps and lotions. And of course, like I said, Redwood Grill. We're the farmers market, and the produce is the foundation. But I got to tell you, Redwood Grill, the barbecue, is our #1 requested vendor here. And Redwood Grill can also cook for your holiday events and catering and things like that. Again, we have about 90 different businesses that use the market here throughout the year, all at different times, depending on what they have. Like Brookwood Fruit Farm, he's now coming back with apples. He has 100 different varieties of apples, and he brings them in as they're ready. And he started coming again probably 2 or 3 weeks ago with cherries and some apples, peaches as well. Those are in season. But then he will stay with his apples all the way through March. He keeps them in cold storage, and it's nice to see that come in. And now Chuck Bristol from Brookwood Fruit Farm is back. And we talk about the history of the market. Chuck, he can trace his family back coming to the United States in the 1600s from Europe, and his family was fruit farmers. And then his family, after the Revolutionary War, maybe I'm going too far back, but they were given a land grant in northern Macomb County, and here they are, hundreds of years later, and they're still growing apples. Him and his 5 sons. So there's a lot. I get goosebumps when you talk about that. There's a lot of value to that, and knowing these guys who grow this stuff. And you're supporting them, and also local employees. A lot of these guys, they come from long distances, and they hire people locally too. So, the market, the money's staying here, and you're getting good stuff.
We're joined by Jeremy Brown. He is the market manager for the Oakland County Farmers Market. Jeremy, just another minute with you before we'll say goodbye today. Is there anything else that you would like the audience to know about the farmers market at this time, or any other important information today?
You know, it's a hidden gem in Oakland County. You know, it's funny how many people come to the market for the first time. They're like, wow, this place is awesome. How long has it been here? And I smile and say, since 1953. And they're always amazed. And, you know, you find new customers. So, you know, all these special events, we do these things to create awareness for the market. Again, the farmers, the handicrafters, they're the foundation. But if we can do some special events to bring people in, and you'll hear me say it all the time, create awareness. Just come on out. You're going to meet some great people, and you're going to be able to do some shopping. Again, recreation isn't just ball fields and playgrounds and campgrounds. It's social interaction. It's community, you know, togetherness. Not trying to get too geeked out on Parks and Rec, you know, creating destinations within the community and all those things. But come on out, go to oaklandcountyparks.com, and you'll see all the great things that we've got happening on a regular basis out here.
Well, Jeremy, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jeremy Brown, market manager for Oakland County's Farmers Market, with us on the Megacast. I'd like to thank him and our other guests today: Adam Sterling, the Resident Life and Business Development Director at Henry Ford Village Senior Living; Ryan Haack, author of Different is Awesome and founder of LivingOnehanded.com; Portia Roberson, the CEO of Focus Hope; Chief Steve Schettenhelm from the City of Rochester's Police Department; those four young kids from the Student Section podcast; and, of course, all of you for joining us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Big shout out to our crew, Larry and Brendan out at Master Control, Calvin Brown, our studio engineer here each and every day on the Megacast, and all those that are involved day in and day out as we bring you this program live, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. We'll be back Monday with new episodes of the Megacast.